Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today I have a video that normally would come out at the beginning of the month, but I am running way behind on all my videos over the past 2 months. With lots of stuff with a new job and just, life. But we're going to keep plugging away, gonna keep bringing the videos that I have promised you. And this is our most played games in June of 2023. Now in June, we did have a pretty good month, 24 plays of 10 different games for about 29 hours of play. July is not going to reach that point. Definitely, we are a little behind in July in all aspects of board gaming. It's just been one of those months. Now, I also want to mention that back in May, during the top 3 games for May, I failed to thank Paul Todaris for a super thanks that he left back in May. So thank you, Paul, for that. It was greatly appreciated. Now, before we get into the list, I do want to mention our sponsor, StoneValleyGames.com. This is your friendly, distant game store. They have a ton of great stuff over there. Board games, card games, war games, collectible card games, RPGs. Everything you might want, miniature games. They've got some of that stuff over there too. So everything you might want to scratch that tabletop itch, they can help you out. They got a number of cool programs as well. They've got a loyalty program for return customers. If you live in the continental United States and you order $100 or more from them, they'll ship to you for free. And if you are the United States military stationed overseas with an AA, AE, or AP address, they'll ship to you for free as well. So be sure to check them out. That's StoneValleyGames.com. Okay, so without anything else, let's get right into the list starting now. So number 3 was Midara with 4 plays as we continue to plug away at that campaign with my group. We are in chapter 4 and I think we've got something like 180 pages of the campaign book left. Chapter 4 out of 5. Still got a good ways to go, but we're plugging away at it. We get about 2 different game sessions a month, and at least one of those who play Midara. So 4 plays of that. This is a massive, it's like an anime graphic novel was turned into a board game, basically. Ridiculous, over-the-top type powers and abilities and gear and everything. The weapons are definitely ridiculous and over the top. Crazy enemies, not your typical fantasy setting, but definitely like a mashup of fantasy with modern day type stuff. And that's Midara. Number 2 is It's a Wonderful World. My first time playing the physical copy of this was in June. This got 5 plays, and I believe there were about 3 were solo and 2 were with a friend. This is, it has a theme on it that really is irrelevant. This is a card drafting game where you have 4 rounds of card drafting going back and forth, and there are 5 different suits of cards, I believe, essentially, and you're generating, as you get the cards, you have an income phase where you're generating 5 different types of cubes. Those cubes in turn help you build more cards, and some of the cards will be worth victory points. There's lots of different ways to get victory points, but also if you're not careful, you can get blinded by, oh, look at how many cubes I'm making. The cubes are not worth victory points. You have to be sure that you not only are making a bunch of cubes, but you're translating that into cards that make victory points. That is a problem that I run into a lot. I get blinded by how good I'm getting at making cubes, and I'm not turning them into points. That's It's a Wonderful World. And number 1 is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle with 7 plays. This, I obtained this because my kids have been asking, and finally I got it because we had read through the whole book series. And so now we got Hogwarts Battle, and we actually just finished playing the base game this month, but we played 7 plays of it last month, and they're very excited to try the expansion that I got, so we'll get to that eventually. It's a deck building game where you are basically playing through each of the 7 Harry Potter books. And it starts off very simplistic, very easy, and each book that you open adds more to it. So it'll add additional allies, it'll add additional villains, it'll add additional items and spells and additional complexity. And once you get to game 7, honestly, it feels like game 7 is in fact the game that that's the full game, is what that feels like. And they then found a way to easily teach it to people, and they pared it back and broke it down into these 7 different games, because you don't pull out anything from game to game. There's a couple of cards that get switched out, but for the most part, you're not pulling out. You're just adding more on top of it to get to that game 7. You get to game 7, it's a lengthy game. When I'm playing with my kids, they take a little while. It can be a 2-hour game almost, probably an hour 45, really. But I have had games go 2 hours once you get up into that game 5, 6, 7 range. Anyway, that is number 1, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle with 7 plays. Those are our top 3 most played games in June. Here we are at the end of July. Again, we will try to pick the pace back up with the channel. I am also starting a Twitch channel for video gaming, so that's something else, but that's not taking up any of the nights that I normally film. That's an additional night that I'm adding to do some stuff. So I might mention that later on in the channel as well at some point. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to leave a like. Those are the best ways to support the channel. If you also want to support monetarily, leave a super thanks in the comments below. I, of course, am very appreciative of any type of support, whether it's the subscription or the likes or the shares or the super thanks. All of that is so appreciated. And until next time, from Board Online, Board Offline.